right, everybody, welcome into the 9 p.m. Central Standard Time edition of Pugs and Company, a series of shows that we do twice a day, and not every day. But this one is called Pillow Talk. We do this at 9 p.m. every Sunday night through Thursday evening. That's right, Sunday through Thursday. And then we do the high noon edition every day, Monday through Friday at noon. High noon edition, if you're thinking about checking it out tomorrow, what that is it's current events driven. It is trending topics, hot topics, everything that is going on in that particular day. We cover in the 2 hours or so that we do the high noon edition. That's what that is. That is utilitarian in nature. It is supposed to prep you up for all of the things that you've got to talk about. Should somebody confront you on your way to the bathroom? Hey, Bob, did you hear about? You can say, why, yes, I did, because I listen to High Noon each and every day at noon with Pugs and Company. And this is a little bit different. This is the Pillow Talk edition. We know what this is. A little bit more fly by the seat of your pants, a little bit more silly stuff, a little bit more just random ranting and talking about whatever the hell is going on. More personal, if you will. Things in your day, things in my day, things in our shared day is the kind of thing that gets covered here on Pillow Talk. Now, we have not been doing the full metal versions of either the Pillow Talk edition show, which is this, or the High Noon edition show, because the and company part of the Pugs and Company, they've just been, well, you can only ask so much of your friends, I suppose is what I'm trying to say here. And, it's a busy time of year. So people are busy. So I've been doing this by myself now for the last good week or so. I hope to see that change in the coming week. I have every expectation that it will. It's just not going to change tonight. Tonight, it's just me. You're stuck with just little old me all by myself. Hi, Steve. Steve is always first in. Steve always likes to say hello, and I always like to say hello right back to Steve. Steve and I have that kind of thing going on between us. What else do I need to tell you about? Maybe again, if you've been hanging out with me for the High Noon show, the ones that I've been doing all by myself, those have been exhausting 2-hour stream of consciousness rants on all the trending topics and all the things that are happening in the world. That is a beatdown. I like to have the and company portion of the show with me because that allows me to take a breath, allows me to relax, allows me to reset. But when I do these by myself, it's pretty much, man, what do they say? All gas, no brakes, to quote Steve Sarkisian. Isn't that his slogan down there at UT? All gas, no brakes. To which Lincoln Riley, I heard respond, the former coach at the Oklahoma University, Lincoln Riley responded, it's hard, or you never need to hit the brakes when you've got no gas. That's good. Wait a second. Did I have a, hold on. I forget what I got here because I so rarely, there you go. Oh, so it's, Sarkisian. All gas, no brakes. Lincoln Riley. You don't need brakes when you got no gas. Boom. Oh, don't you love the rivalry? You do. A lot of football, but we don't like to do a lot of football here because we don't like to do a lot of sports because people, I take the poll. I listen to the chat room. I see what the people want to hear. They don't want to get all knocked down. They don't care that Lincoln Riley is leaving Oklahoma University for the University of Southern California. They don't care that Steve Sarkisian is in the middle of the worst UT season that I can remember. They don't care that. Well, you know what you don't care about? Hey, I saw something just a couple of seconds ago, just before I signed on here, and I'm going to mention it because it's something that kind of drives me nuts. And we see it absolutely every football Sunday. Hell, we see it every football Monday night, every football Thursday night as well. This new thing that these guys are doing where they exchange jerseys. Two gladiators on separate teams that spend 4 quarters just pounding the snot out of one another. And then at the end of the game, it's like, can I have your jersey? Okay. Would you like my jersey? Now, I don't know how I feel about it. I know my tone might suggest that I'm against it, but I don't know that that's necessarily the facts here. here's my inclination, being an old man, is to go, in my day, that's not how we would. Dick Butkus would have smacked Paul Horning in the face had he asked for his. And that's I'm even making myself older because I am certainly not of the Dick Butkus Paul Horning generation, but it does seem odd to me that, I don't know. So the old man in me sort of recoils at the idea of these guys exchanging jerseys. But then the self-aware person who's just trying to get along in this world that is passing me by, and day by day, I'm finding that I'm less and less important to it. I'm just trying to accept the way things are and not make waves. That part of me is like, yeah, whatever. These guys want to trade jerseys. That's fine. But today, after the Rams-Packers game, can I just tell you something? Matthew Stafford was raised here in the big. We do this show every day from the 1%, from the guest house high atop the 1%er compound in beautiful downtown Highland Park, Texas. One of the wealthiest, I believe it's the wealthiest zip code in America. Don't quote me on that. Somebody said that recently, and I went, yeah, that probably checks out. At any rate, this is where Matthew Stafford, quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, grew up. And let me tell you something. I've seen Matthew Stafford's entire career. He was with the Detroit Lions, played my Bears twice a year. I know he's a talented quarterback, but Matthew Stafford plays rich kid soft. He really does. He is a rich kid. Not like a Brett Favre. Brett Favre, who I despise, by the way, but I will pay him the compliment here. Brett Favre plays like white trash. Brett Favre plays like he's got nothing to lose. It ain't going to be okay all he had in his life were these victories, and then he'd go home to his double wide and his drunken father and whatever the hell else was going on. Not Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford just executes according to the game plan and then goes home to his 10-room mansion, 10-bedroom mansion. Let's say that. Matthew Stafford. Anyway, so after the game today, OBJ, the recent acquisition of the Los Angeles Rams, Odell Beckham Jr., tried to trade jerseys with Devonta Adams. And Devonta Adams wouldn't trade jerseys with him because apparently the backstory is Devonta Adams tried to get OBJ to sign with the Packers, and instead OBJ signed with the Rams. So when OBJ went up to Devonta Adams and tried to exchange jerseys with him, Devonta Adams told him, why don't you trade jerseys with Cooper Kupp since that's who you want to be with? And walked away. Oh, that's good. Come on, that's good. I like that. So there we go. That's all the sports we're going to do today. I promise you on that. Hey, what do you say we do a moment of joy? A little moment of joy. We like to start each and every show out here with a little something that maybe make you feel good about yourself, a little something puts us in a good mood, a little something with optimism, a little something that maybe causes us to chuckle. I really don't know how many of those boxes this one here is going to check. But look, how about a couple of old people who are going down the wrong road, the wrong side of an escalator? Look at them. Look at him. Black Friday. It was Friday. Look at this guy. I like how he's filming him. He's on the steps. He stopped. Now, here's what's going down. You want to see a little breakdown of what's happening here? All right, I'll tell you exactly what's happening here. Okay. So you got Grandma and Grandpa. You got Grandma's leading the way. You got Grandpa. Grandpa knows full well what's happening here, but you know what? Grandpa has been living with Grandma for 50 years now, and Grandpa he's conditioned to just go with it. He's conditioned to just never question her because, my God, his life is a living hell when he does. And look at them. They're still going. They're making zero progress. Nope. Here's what I want to know. Why is nobody saying anything to them? No, they're stopping. Now Grandpa's like, I think we're going back. I mean, look at these two. She is. And you know what? This is just so typical of her. She will not admit when she's wrong. She is just going to force through this like every mean old grandma. Look at her. She's just going to keep going. She doesn't care. She's going to keep trying. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. That's what's going on. And Grandpa there, he knows, he totally knows, but he ain't gonna say anything because it's a long car ride home. And honestly, he doesn't want to hear it from her. He just wants to be able to go home, go into his little TV room and watch his Fox News or whatever the hell else is. You know, he's going to want maybe some National Geographic, something like that. But her, no way. She's going to win this battle. She is. But why isn't anyone telling them? I mean, isn't this kind of sad? Who am I to judge? All I can do is tell you that that's our moment of joy. Let's hear it for them. Aren't they wonderful? All right. So a lot of you are probably asking yourselves, hey, Pugs, what's going on with your head and your lack of hair? I know. I usually wear something. I usually wear a hat or something. The reason I always wear a hat is because I was told early on that my stupid bald head causes glare on the camera because of the light. And there's a little bit of a glare, I guess. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I got the hats in the other room. I could have gone and got a hat. I could have gone and got a knit cap. Could have done. The house is warm. I got the air. Not the air. I got the heat cranking. It's cold. It's cold for Texas. This is, it's going to be in the 40s tonight, I think. Oh, but don't worry. It's going to be 80 by Friday. Did you see that? I did. It's going to be 80 by Friday. All right. So what do we get into? Ooh, we got a nice little group of folks hanging out here. We got Buddy, we got Jeff, we got Leslie, we got Emily. Where's my guy? There we got it. Okay. Hi, everybody. Pugs, read our chat request tonight. Okay. All right. Well, hold on. Let me switch right over to the chat so I can read more of it that way. All right, we'll go through the chats. Steve says, evening. Emily says, yo, bitches. Leslie says, hiya, Leslie. Emily says, bah humbug sports. All right, Emily, it was you I was thinking of when I said nobody wants to hear sports, and now we're done with the sports. But you know what? You got to be more open-minded, Emily. Just simply because the overreaching subject is sports doesn't mean that it's going to be X's and O's and game plans. Sometimes there are interesting little nuggets, that everyone can enjoy that can be quelled from a conversation about sports, Emily. Leslie says, that's a little weird. Well, that was a little weird. I don't know what you're referring to here. Leslie also says, I'm okay with one-armed hugs and back pats. I don't know what that's in reference to. Emily says, why are you listening to a man named Dick Butt Kiss anyway? Oh, I get it. That's funny because he's a legend. Ed, please change the logo to a different location. It blocks the text feed. Yes, Leslie, I agree completely. Why is that logo? That is why I have to open the secondary chat so that I can see exactly what people are saying. You, the fine listener, does not have that luxury. You can't open the secondary chat like I can. And that Pugs and Company Radio Misfits Network is just terribly placed. But somehow I think we'll survive. Let's see here. What else do you guys want in the chat room? We'll do this first. Leslie Gladbach with a nice little slam on Brett Favre. I always appreciate that. Leslie says Emily says it's impossible. Emily, you are just filled with complaints tonight, aren't you? And then Leslie says, read our chat requests. Okay, that's where I jumped in. We are sick of asking you to move the damn icon. Oh, well, I don't know how to move the icon, Leslie. You want me to try and move the icon? I can try and move the icon, but there's a better than average chance that this whole thing's going to go to pot once I start poking around in here. So do you want to take that chance? Do you want to? I'm a little frosty today. It's okay. We'll get past it, though, because I got things to say. All right, now we're in here. Video, audio, green screen. You know what? Okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. I can't move it. I'll ask Ed tomorrow. Ed's probably not. You can't see the two boxes at the top. That's all. The top two. I am not going to allow this logo issue to derail my entire flow. I am not. I am prepared to do a show by myself. That is difficult enough. Now I got you birds chirping in my head, telling me what I got to do about aesthetics. I have no clue. All right, so let's get into this. Oh my God! So I was telling you about, the neighborhood. I tell you about this neighborhood, the 1%er neighborhood here that I live in. I'm like this spy living amongst the 1%ers. You know what I've been listening? I got my window open because the heat in the guest house is fantastic. The air conditioning fantastic. The water pressure fantastic. The heat fantastic. If the heat goes for more than 10 minutes, oh boy, it's like a sauna in here. So I have to vacillate between having the heat on and having a window open. And one of the windows in the bedroom is open because that's where I was watching football all day. And do you know what I'm hearing outside my window all night long? And it's making me sick. It's making me angry. It's also putting me in a bit of a holiday spirit, though, if I'm being honest with you. I know, I'm being a bit schizophrenic about this, but what the hell? I'm a complicated person with a lot of things going on inside my head. So I'm hearing this outside my window all night long. All night long, and then it goes away, and then it comes back. You know what it is? You know what this neighborhood has? This neighborhood has horsey and carriage rides. Clippity cloppity horses going all around the neighborhood with all the rich kids sitting in the back of these carriages, looking at all the mansions with all the crazy lights and all the big Christmas displays. That's going to go on now for the next month. I almost hit a horse too. I went to Whataburger. I wanted to get one of them patty melts there at Whataburger for dinner tonight. So I drove up there. And by the way, don't even get me started on the Whataburger at Lemon and Versailles in Texas, in Dallas. It is a cluster F. I almost got into 3 accidents in the parking lot. I had to wait. They said your order will be ready. I do curbside. Your order will be ready between 6:30 and 6:35. Well, at 6:55, I finally decided to go inside and say, what is going on here? Okay, that's what I said in my head. What I actually said was, "Hi, I'm waiting on curbside. I was just wondering, would maybe be quicker if I just stayed in here?" That's what I actually said. But inside, I'm going, "Give me my food, you lying lazy sacks of shit!" But see, folks, I know that they're about to handle my food. So I don't want them to hear the guy with the inner monologue. I want them to hear the nice guy who's just trying to help out, even though inside I'm raging. So I'm coming back from the Whataburger and I have to stop at the end of the block. And I'm like, what the hell? What? This is like a normal residential street. Why are there 5 cars waiting to go one at a time at the 4-way stop? What is happening? It is 6:30 on a Sunday. This isn't rush hour. I'm not on the LBJ here at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday. What is going? The stupid horse. The stupid horse was clogging up traffic in the neighborhood. So then I'm like, okay, fine. It finally becomes my turn. And I come and I pull into the house and I pull into the driveway the way I normally do. And then I go to back out of the driveway because I park in front of the house, but I use our driveway as a way to maneuver there in the narrow streets of the 1%er neighborhood. And as I'm backing out, I check the rear view camera and what do I see? So I have to lock up the brakes. I'm like, I almost just killed a horse. I almost just killed a horse and Jerry Jones's grandkids or whoever the hell was in the back of that stupid carriage. I have no idea. But that's going to happen now for like the next 25 days. I don't know. They'll probably push it through. It is lovely, though. If I'm being honest, it's not terrible. I'm just in one of those moods. You know how I get in these moods sometimes. Yeah, Emily, don't even get started on things that are annoying because the most annoying thing right now begins with an E and an M and an I and an LY. Emily says, well, okay, Emily, if you're also here's the deal. Emily says, I'm also a bit testy tonight. Just a warning. Well, Emily, what do you say you and I team up and be testy together and not towards one another? How about that? How about we combine our powers? Thank you. All right, so a bunch of things I want to talk about tonight. Let's see. We should get out of these should get out of the ones the big news stories, right? First of all, things that are going around. Here's one. Here's a big one. We got to cover this. We've got major movement in the Texas. Where is it? There it is. Major movement in the Texas gubernatorial race. Matthew McConaughey. All right. He's made a decision. By the way, I won't do that. I don't know why I do that. That's like a bad default thing. Every lame-o on the planet, whenever his name comes up, they always go, all right. And yet here I am doing the same thing. So Matthew McConaughey, he made finally, he said something about his designs on the State House there in Tejas. Hold on, did this? Sorry, now I'm doing this wrong. Folks, give me a second here. Twitter one. That ain't it. Yep, that's the one. We'll share that one. Okay. So here he is, Matthew McConaughey. There he is. He made his, here we go. Just watch.
Hey, everybody. McConaughey here.
Okay, he calls himself McConaughey. Does that irritate anyone else? Hey, everybody. McConaughey here. I mean, I love the guy. I love the guy. I don't know why.
Listen, over the past 2 years, I've been working on the answer to the question of how I can be most useful in this life going forward. Useful to myself, useful to my family, and to the most amount of people. One category of service I've been exploring is politics. I've been considering a run for the governor of Texas. I've been listening, I've been learning, I've been measuring, I've been studying Texas politics and American politics. What have I learned? A lot. That we have some problems we need to fix, that our politics needs new purpose, that we have divides that need healing, that we need more trust in our lives, that we got to start shining a light on our shit.
Can I just point something else? This son of a bitch is good on camera, right? He's good on camera. He's good. He's already got me. I'm like, oh, dude, tell me more.
Shared values. The ones that cross party lines, the ones that build bridges instead of burn them. That our children are our greatest asset. So, hey, let's be as good of parents as we can be. I've learned that freedom comes with responsibility and that great leaders serve. Whether a politician, a CEO, star quarterback, a mother, father, husband, wife, brother, friend, mentor, or teacher, we lead by serving each other. We lead through our service. What is service? Service is taking on responsibility today so we can have more freedom tomorrow. Service is making the better choice for you and for me. Service is the investment we make in ourselves. So, can we recognize that when we serve others, we actually serve ourselves and vice versa? Do we have the courage to help out more than we hurt? Can we expect to get what we earn more than what we think we deserve? Can we give ourselves more reasons to trust each other first instead of last? That's the leadership that we need. That's the investment in our states and our country that we need. That's the investment we need. As a simple kid born in the little town of Uvalde, Texas, it never occurred to me that I would one day be considered for political leadership. It's a humbling and inspiring path to ponder. It is also a path that I'm choosing not to take at this moment. What am I going to do? I'm going to continue to work and invest the bounty I have by supporting entrepreneurs, businesses, and foundations that I believe are leaders, establishments that I believe are creating pathways for people to succeed in life, organizations that have a mission to serve and build trust while also generating prosperity. That's the American dream. And politicians, well, the good ones can help us get to where we need to go, yeah. But let's be clear, they can't do anything for us unless we choose to do for ourselves. So to the leaders and the servants out there and the leader and servant in each one of us, cheers to you. Here's to the freedom to be you, the freedom to be me, and to our responsibility to be us. In the meantime, and all times, and until next time, just keep living.
All right. So what was that? He's not gonna run? Is that what we take from that? Full disclosure, I'd have voted for him. I'd have voted for him because why the hell not? Why not? Texas politics, in the 20 years that I have been here close to it, watching it from afar, spent a little sabbatical away from here the last few years. Texas politics is a dumpster fire of just absolute trash people grabbing for power so that they can share it with their friends. That's all Texas Texas politics is awful. So yeah, so I would have voted for the guy from Dazed and Confused. I would have voted for him. Hell, I would have voted for Willie Nelson. Hell, I would have voted for anybody that wasn't a politician. But he's out, and that's good. So there's no reason to be upset about it, because the thing to be upset about was that he was dragging his feet for so long, and that there were all these stories about, oh, Matthew McConaughey is going to run for governor. If he wins, he can beat Abbott. He's already beaten Abbott by 8 points. So he's not going to run. He's not going to run. We know what he's going to do. He's going to endorse Beto. They're friends. The whole reason that he's not running is because Beto decided that he was going to run. So, we're done with that. We're done with all of that nonsense. Now, Matthew McConaughey will just be running around the state with Beto O'Rourke, probably doing campaign stuff. Whether Beto can win, I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. I only know this. I know that we've got Governor Greg Abbott, who is got a lot of bad mojo against him. There's a lot of people that he's upset, and I know that he's being challenged pretty heartily from the right by Don Huffines, who is like, imagine if Greg Abbott didn't seem like such a nice guy. That's Huffines. That's what's going on that side. So I think there's a good chance to upend the apple cart, at least the way that it's been the last few years here in this state, with the same group of people running the same scam over and over again. I don't know if it'll be better. I just know that it'll be different, and I'm going to support something different. So that's that. That's all we're going to talk about as far as politics go in this state. What else do we have? Oh, here's a story that drove me absolutely insane today. So I clicked on it because I'm a moron, and sometimes I click on clickbait. But it's not so much about the story that I want to talk about here. Come on. Oh, pop-ups. Oh, everybody's got to get their pound of flesh. Got to get your ad dollars in there. Got to delay my ability to scroll down to actually read the story, because what are you going to tell me about? What do you go? It's not even coming up. MediaNet Fusion. That's the pop-up that I'm dealing with right now. I have no idea what that's about. So I went to school for broadcast journalism, and I wanted to be, there was a time in my life when I wanted to be a journalist. When, I was a self-righteous 20-year-old that wanted to be the next, Pulitzer Prize winning guy that brought down the establishment, all that stuff. And then I started working in radio, and I was like, hey, screw that. This is way more fun. But you guys know me. I'm a news freak. I'm a news junkie. I do nothing. I read, from the time I was 12 years old, I was reading 2 newspapers a day and watching not only the news every night at 10 o'clock, but then, from the earliest onset of cable news, I was just glued to it, consuming as much as I possibly could. So, knowing that I am a news lover and a news junkie, a few years ago when we started hearing the whole fake news, it really upset me, because, I've always felt that, at least as far as the legacy news brands are concerned, and I won't even mention what the legacy news brands are, because that's just going to trigger a number of you. But as far as the legacy, dependable, old school news brands, I felt absolutely they made mistakes. Absolutely they got stories wrong. That's not anything new. That happens. But they don't get big stuff wrong. They don't purposefully mislead. So when the whole fake news, every time something bad about somebody came out, fake news, that's fake news. Oh, you can't believe anything. Just the idea that you cannot believe anything except the people who are telling you what you already believe. Any news that reinforces your preconceived notions or your bigotries or whatever the hell it is, your personal wants and desires, anything in the news that reinforced that was real. But anything that went against that, anything that challenged you to rethink your position on something, fake news, fake news. And I always pushed back on that. I always hated it. But man, we are through the looking glass, Alice. We are completely on the others. We are now in an era where everything is bullshit. Not everything, please. I don't want to overstep it. But I saw this story today and I went, oh my God, that sounds fantastic. Why that headline is deserving of my click. Why that headline, I'm going to give about 5 minutes of my day to it and I'm going to read. So here's the headline. College student dead after frat's diabolical underground fight club. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, so some frat at some college somewhere is doing some underground fight club, like the movie Fight Club, where there are no rules and no refs and no medical personnel anywhere. And boy, if people get the shit kicked out of them, they're just getting the shit kicked out of them. And manly masculinity, fight, fight, fight. I'm all in on that story, right? And this is, by the way, this is Yahoo. I wouldn't call Yahoo a legacy news organization, but you would think that. So I start to read the story. And guess what? It's not a diabolical underground fight club at all. It's a fraternity smoker for charity where referees were involved and there were medical personnel there. But boy, you're not going to click on that. That's not as interesting as the headline, College Student Dead After Frat's Diabolical Underground Fight Club. That headline is a complete lie. That headline misidentifies this story completely. On November 19, Nathan Valencia, a 20-year-old Las Vegas College junior and fraternity member, fought a member of another campus fraternity in the main event of an annual boxing match. Not exactly a diabolical underground fight club. According to the Instagram flyer leading up to Kappa Sigma's fight night, proceeds for the annual event were supposed to support Centering Boxing, a youth boxing club in Las Vegas. Okay, how can it be underground if it's being it's held every year and it's being promoted openly on Instagram? But the friendly match quickly turned tragic. And look, I don't mean to make light of this. A 20-year-old kid is dead. But he's not dead due to the circumstances presented by this damn headline. Joe Castro, a friend of Valencia who witnessed the fight, describes the atmosphere to KLAS as a so it was a friend. It was a friend who said, it's an underground fight club. He described it as that, even though it's not. It's not. They were promoting it. It happens annually. There are referees. Proceeds go to a charity. So some moron kid goes, it's like an underground fight club. And they decide, I think we've got our headline. See, I won't even read the rest of it because it's just a kid died during a fight. But man, did that upset me. Man, did that make me, because I support journalism. I believe, look, I remember hours and hours, the most comprehensive class that I had to take was ethics, where we go over like there are no ethics anymore in journalism. No ethical journalist would attach that headline to this story. It just doesn't. Yeah, that's all. I just wanted to get that off my chest. It was driving me nuts. So what did you guys do this weekend? Want to know what I did this weekend? Why are you so nosy? I didn't really do anything this weekend. Boy, if you look around this place, you can tell I didn't do anything because it is the maid's day off. Isn't that for sure? I don't have a maid, just so you know. I can actually hear the clippity clop of those damn rich kid horses outside. I can literally hear them with headphones in right now. Time do they stop? 9:30. I did nothing but watch TV all night, or all weekend. You know what I did? Here's a couple of things that I did, and I'm going to talk about them for the rest of this little thing that we're doing. I also have an interesting article that I read this morning during my Sunday paper readings, which I kind of miss. I kind of miss the actual Sunday paper, that big fat thick thing, and it was all cumbersome and foldy and go over here and some over here. And then, hey, who's got the comics? Oh, they fell off the bed. I kind of miss that. Now everything's just windows, it's just windows opened up. I guess it's a lot more streamlined, and I guess it's probably less frustrating when you can't find something, but whatever. I'm an old man. I'm just trying to survive in this new world. So I read an article today about things that aren't really important anymore. Things that nobody, brands that are like dying, things that people used to do that they just aren't doing anymore. It's just so maybe we'll talk about that because I thought that was interesting. I set that aside. But above and beyond that, do you know what I did this weekend? Oh God. Oh, and I'm sorry to say, it was hard, man. It was so hard. I bit off way more than I could chew. And I know I made some bold proclamations last week about it. I don't want to wait for things to be uploaded one episode at a time. If I want to watch it straight through and binge, I'm going to watch it. I can't imagine having an episode end and then having to go, what? I can't just watch another episode. I must wait 24 hours? Yeah, I said that about the Beatles Get Back on Apple. Apple put out this new, I don't know, let's call it 40 hours worth of raw Beatles footage that Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, put together. Peter Jackson is very well thought of and highly regarded filmmaker. And he somehow was given keys to the Apple Music Vault. Apple is the company that the Beatles owned that has all of their stuff. And I don't know, he convinced somebody. He said, let me go into the vault. Let me go through all of that raw stuff that nobody's ever seen before. And let me make a documentary. And that documentary debuted on Thanksgiving night, I want to say, on Apple TV. The Beatles Get Back. And it was 3 parts. First one was released at midnight on Thursday, then the second one midnight on Friday, and then the third part midnight on Saturday. And it just so happens that I got like a killer. My kid loves the Disney stuff. He loves Disney TV, not Apple. I keep saying Apple TV because the Beatles company was Apple. So please, I'm probably going to do it again, but just know it's Disney. It's not Apple. Okay. So Disney Plus. So my kid loves the Disney Plus because of all of the Marvel stuff. And we'll get into that too. Because of all the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. Anything Marvel, anything Star Wars is exclusively on Disney Plus. And I noticed that there was like a crazy cool Black Friday deal with my Hulu subscription where I got an email. They're like, hey, you can get Disney Plus for just $3 with your Hulu subscription. So I'm like, all right, $3. Why not? So now I'm a Disney Plus guy, and now I'm the dad of a kid who's a Disney Plus kid, so he's probably pretty happy about that, although I haven't told him yet. Anyway, I decided that I was going to just, all right, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to watch the Get Back series, the Peter Jackson Beatles Get Back series. Now, just to sort of frame what this is very well done. I mean, Peter Jackson, it's from it's so fascinating. I mean, and let me say from the outset, I enjoyed it. because, some of my review here is going to sound like I didn't enjoy it. I did. I enjoyed it immensely. It's 3 episodes. Each episode is like 12 hours each. So like 36 hours. No, each episode is like 3 hours each. So each one was a 3-hour documentary followed by a part 2, another 3-hour documentary, followed by a part 3, another 3-hour documentary. And it was just footage of the Beatles. In 1969, when they were going through all of their issues with one another, they decided that they were going to make a television special. So they began production on this television special on January 2nd, 1969. And the special was supposed to air on like the 28th of January. And they had no idea what they were going to do. So they all got thrown into a studio together and they all had to figure out what they're going to do. And they were in a time crunch. It was, they had 20 something days to create new songs, sets. What was it going to be? What was the TV special going to be about? Was it going to be just them playing? Was it going to be a movie? They didn't know. They had no idea. And they weren't on the best of terms. They were, they were kind of all split apart. They hadn't really been together in a while. So they commissioned a film crew to come in and just film it all, just constant. I mean, this is, we're going back 40, 30 years before the reality TV genre became a thing. This was real reality TV. It was just raw video of raw film footage of how the Beatles and their entourages, the people in their, immediate orbits and all the people that made things go for them, how they interacted with one another, how they hung out, how they talked to each other, how they created songs together, how they argued, how they, it was really fascinating for someone like me who is a big Beatle fan. It was, like the mother lode. It was like every question you ever had, everything you ever wondered about, like, oh, I wonder if, it was really wonderful from that perspective. But then it was also just so much of it. So much of it. Here's the way I think a normal person would enjoy the Get Back series on Disney Plus. I think you watch an hour a night. I think you watch an hour a night. I think you limit yourself to an hour. I think you watch an hour and then you say, okay, that was an interesting hour. Now I'll go back and I'll wait for another day and I'll come back and I'll watch another hour. And then, over the course of like a month, you might be able to get through the whole thing. Well, I got through the whole damn thing in a weekend. I started on Friday night and finished it, around 6:00 this evening. And, here's a really interesting, there's a lot of like really fun little facts. I won't spoil it for you. They break up. I won't spoil it for you. But here, I want to show you something. Let me see if I can pull this up. So the guy who was the director, now Peter Jackson is the director of this documentary, right, that we're seeing in the year 2021. But back then, there was a film director who was in charge of all the cameras, who was brought in to sort of put this story together and figure out what kind of a TV special the Beatles were going to be making. That guy's name was Michael Lindsey Hogg. Okay, where is he? Can't find him. So I want to show you this. This was just a little fun fact about this guy. Now, I'm a big fan. For those of you who know me, I'm a big fan of Orson Welles. I'm a bit of a Orson Welles hag. I'm really into him. He was a really fascinating guy. He made some really awesome movies. And, then in the 70s, he was the big fat guy selling Paul Masson wine. That's pretty much how his story ended. But he also created the War of the Worlds radio program, which is probably as instrumental in me getting interested in spoken word and radio theater and radio drama and all that stuff as any other single person. So I'm a very big fan of him. This guy, Michael Lindsey Hogg, who is the director of the 1969 Get Back sessions, which is what this is called. And So he was raised, he's a film director. He's young in 1969. He's like a 25, 26-year-old film director. And he was raised in New York City, a very wealthy, privileged life in New York City. His mother was an actress by the name of Geraldine Fitzgerald. Geraldine Fitzgerald was famous primarily as being Orson Welles' go-to gal, Orson Welles' go-to actress. And they had an affair, and they were together for a period of time. And Michael Lindsey Hogg spent his entire life. He grew up, with his mom and a stepdad. Now he knew that the stepdad wasn't his real dad, but he didn't know who his real dad was his whole life, right? He didn't know this. He, for some curious reason, every summer he spent with Orson Welles' daughter. Orson Welles' daughter, for some reason, would just be dropped off in the summer, and the two of them would play and hang out, and they became very close, and they had, as he describes, a brother and sister type relationship. So Michael Lindsey Hogg goes about his life, and he gets, older, and he ends up deciding that he wants to be a film director. Decides that that's just in his blood. It's something that he wants to do. He wants to be a film director. And Gloria Vanderbilt, Anderson Cooper's mom, who was friends with Michael Lindsey Hogg's mom, Geraldine Fitzgerald. Remember the Orson Welles actress? So Gloria Vanderbilt, when he was like 22 years old, go, hey, nobody has told you this, and I think that this is kind of wrong, and I think that you really should know, especially now that you want to be a film director. But Michael Lindsey Hogg, your father is Orson Welles. That's why you spent all these summers with Orson Welles' daughter, and that's why, Now, let me show you something. And it was like, first of all, he's a film director. And if you know anything about Orson Welles, when you watch Get Back, if you happen to watch Get Back, if you know anything about Orson Welles, this son of a bitch sounds exactly like Orson Welles. He talks like Orson Welles. He's got the same delivery as Orson Welles. And then there's this. Look at this. Do you guys see this? Okay. It's like, is there any doubt? This is another one of these Frank Sinatra, Ronan Farrow kind of situations. Let me see if I can make it bigger. There we go. Can we make it bigger? Yeah. Okay, look at that. So on the left here, you have Orson Welles. This is Orson Welles. And this is Michael Lindsey Hogg, the film director kid who grew up never knowing. He always called him Uncle Orson because, he was around and remember his mom and they were friends and all that stuff. But look at this. So I thought that was the most intriguing fun fact about this whole thing, is that this is another one of these Ronan Farrow, Frank Sinatra is my dad, not Woody Allen situations. And all you need to do is look at them both. I mean, come on. This right here is Orson Welles' son. And here's young Orson Welles. Okay, but that's not really what we need to get into here about this, because I do have some interesting thoughts about the whole Get Back thing. And I'll run through them fairly quickly here because we don't need to spend the entire night on it. Cigarettes everywhere. 1969. Everybody is just chain smoking cigarettes left and right. Cigarettes. The cigarette budget for the Beatles must have just been astronomical. I cannot imagine. It was just wine everywhere. Cigarettes and wine. Everything was done with cigarettes and wine. We'd always heard, the Beatles, they were all so high on drugs. They were all so... No, they weren't. They were not. I just watched like 30 hours of they were not high on drugs. They were smoking weed. They were discreetly smoking weed. Like, definitely Paul and definitely George. George was smoking a lot of weed. And the way it happens really fast because, the cameras are just trained on them and the cameras are picking up everything. But you can tell the difference between someone who is smoking a cigarette like this, like that, and somebody who is smoking something that looks like a cigarette like this. I like the way that sounds. You can tell. So they don't draw attention to it. They don't throw a spotlight on it, but it's like, smoking weed. They're all smoking weed here. And wine was flowing, but they weren't drunk and they weren't like tripped out on acid. The Beatles, they wrote half their albums tripped out on acid. No, they weren't. No, they were not. They were lucid. They came to work and they were working hard. They were here's the problem with the Beatles at the point that we see them in this documentary, okay? So you had, let's see if I can put this up for you. Okay, so here's how I would break it down. John Lennon was the boss, undisputed boss, leader of the Beatles, boss of the Beatles, who had completely by this point abdicated his power for a chick. He was way into Yoko. He didn't care about writing songs. He didn't care about working with Paul. He just wanted to hang out with Yoko and draw things and take photography. I mean, John Lennon was a true artist. He happened to have been an immensely talented singer-songwriter, but in the grand sense of things, John Lennon was an artist. And by this point in the Beatles' existence, he was done with the whole songwriting. He could still do it. Okay, what do you need? You need me to pump out a song? I can pump out a song. But really what he wanted to do was just play with Yoko's hair and talk to her. I mean, I could see why they're, Yoko broke up the band. No, she didn't. She really didn't. We see 30 hours of this. They didn't have a problem with Yoko. I had a problem with Yoko watching it because she was like a mannequin just sitting next to him at all times. But Paul didn't seem to mind it necessarily. Ringo and George, they all seemed to actually like Yoko. They were joking around with her. It was friendly. It wasn't hostile. It wasn't ugly. So that was John. John was just like, when your best friend, when you're young, all of a sudden your best friend stops calling you because you got a girlfriend. That's what John was. John was in that state of things where, hoes before bros. That's the stage that John Lennon was in during the filming of this. So he was the boss who abdicated his power. Then you got Paul. Paul was the workaholic who saw the vacuum that John had left when John decided that I'll be here and I'll write songs with you guys. But really, Yoko's just going to sit on my lap and we're going to giggle to each other because we're in love. Paul saw that vacuum and he stepped right in and he was like, all right, I am the captain now. I mean, that's basically Paul's entire vibe, this whole thing. I am the captain now. And there's an interesting scene where Paul, they're taking a break, they're eating. And Paul comes up to John and he goes, John, did you write any songs last night? And John's like, no, Paul, I didn't. And then Paul kind of takes a beat and goes, well, then I think we're in trouble. John's like, but here's the thing. For every song that John Lennon failed to write for these sessions, it's okay because freaking Paul McCartney wrote 50 the night before. Every night, this guy is just churning out songs, churning out stuff. And when I tell you he's churning out shit, it's like, all right, anybody got a song? Like, of course, George is always like, I got a song. Put your hand down, George. Nobody's talking to you. Like they saw George was baby put in the corner. I mean, I get why George was frustrated because we now know that George was an immensely talented songwriter in and of himself. But between John and Paul, they put George in. They didn't want to hear from George. They didn't want any of that. So George, I think, was pretty justified in feeling a bit sidelined by the Beatles, especially in this moment here where John is taking a step back. And instead of Paul turning to George and saying, okay, let's be McCartney and Harrison instead of McCartney and Lennon. No, it just was McCartney. It just became McCartney. And these songs that he was writing, it was like, anybody got a song? Anybody got a song? Okay. All right. Well, I was just working on this one last night. I don't know. Maybe this sounds like something. I have no idea if this is going to be any good. I don't know. When I find myself in times of trouble, he just rips into Let It Be. Like, I just made it off the top of my head. Just came up with that. And I got another one. You don't like that one? The Long and Winding Road. I wrote that one on the toilet today. I mean, unbelievably prolific Paul McCartney was. I mean, so prolific. Let me tell you, he wrote 3 songs and there was some pushback like, oh God, Paul, seriously, are you just going to write everything? He wrote 3 individual songs. And so instead of just having 3 individual songs, he just combined them into one epic song. The Long and Winding Road, Carry That Weight, Boy, You're Gonna Carry That Weight, into I don't know, something else, whatever, another just like legendary Beatles composition. And so, I mean, that was really, really fascinating just to witness firsthand how freaking talented Paul McCartney was in just and these are songs that 60 years later are still considered gold standard in songwriting. And he just ripped them out of his ass, just like, well, John ain't writing, so I guess I better get to work. Unbelievable. So you got John. John's the boss that abdicated his power. Paul is the guy who stepped into the vacuum. Then you got George. George is just the underappreciated, ignored little brother. George was stewing the whole time. George was just like not happy about the situation. Although they weren't all fighting. This is not, all of the books that have been written, all of the stories that have been told. Oh, they were at each other's throats. No, they weren't. They were actually really cool with one another. They actually all got along pretty well. In fact, George quit the band in the middle of these sessions, and it was like, if you're watching it, you're like, wait, why did he quit? I didn't see anything happen. Why did he quit? George just went, all right, I'm going to go home, and I'm probably quitting the band. All right, later, boys. And he just left, and it was like there wasn't a fight, there wasn't anything. It was just, ugh. And then Ringo. Ringo's the guy that everybody liked. Ringo was like the glue that kept everything together. The other thing that I'll say before we wrap this up, and look, if you're a Beatles fan, or if you're a music fan, or if you're just a fan of popular culture, it is absolutely worth seeing. It's very interesting. For me, a Beatles fan, it was fascinating. Here's the other thing that stood out to me. All four of them. Now, we're talking about the four biggest rock stars on the planet. We are talking about guys who could have anything that they wanted. They were freaking Beatles in 1969. I mean, it didn't get any better than that. You couldn't ask to be in a better position than to be a Beatle in 1969. Having said that, these four guys were the nicest guys to the people that worked for them. I tweeted something about this. There were nothing but setbacks, mistakes, misjudgments all throughout the recording sessions. People were making mistakes all around them. Well, sorry, we didn't get that take. We ran out of tape. Oh, sorry, it's going to be about 10 minutes. I accidentally spilled my coffee on the board. We're going to have to rewire it. Well, sorry, lunch isn't going to come because we forgot to order lunch. Sorry. I mean, there were all kinds of these things that were happening, and every single one of them was met with the most easygoing, non-prima donna, non-asshole response from the four superstars in the room. They're all like, that's all right. Take your time. Whatever you need to do. That's okay. They treated their people ridiculously well. The only thing that was even close to being snotty was John and Paul were having a conversation about a song, about how a song was supposed to go. And George Martin, their legendary producer, butted in and said, well, I think you should do it like this. And John Lennon turned to George Martin and said, well, that would be good if I was talking to you, but see, I'm talking to Paul about this right now, so please let Paul and I talk. That was it. And that's how he said it. That was like the worst thing. I mean, but oh my God, I couldn't believe how kind, how generous, how sweet, how nice. The interns in the room, the lowest of the lighting gaffers, all of these guys were just treated, these people and these women, they were all treated with just the utmost amount of respect and kindness and decency from superstars. So, superstar, rock star, prima donnas. And I got a theory on it. And my theory is this. The rock star asshole hadn't really become a thing yet. I mean, when you think about the Beatles and who they were the first of their kind. They didn't know that the Beatles never trashed hotel rooms. They never thought of trashing hotel rooms. The Beatles were never snotty to people because they could get away with it. They never thought to be snotty because, they were just happy to be where they were and couldn't believe the success that they were having, and they were having these fulfilled lives, and why be dicks about it? I mean, that came later. That came later with the Led Zeppelins and the 70s rock bands where, the poorly behaved rock star who's mean to everybody and he's completely just a jerk all the time. The Beatles weren't that. These four guys weren't that. These four guys were really nice guys. And then the last thing that I'll say is the women in their lives. I thought this was very interesting because Yoko is ever present. Yoko is seen in every shot of this. I mean, she is there. She is attached to John like they're Siamese twins. She is just always there. And again, I'll point out this did not appear to be a problem for any of the Beatles. They didn't really seem to mind her. In fact, they all seemed to like her. But all of their girlfriends were like floating in and out. Like Linda Eastman McCartney, who would become, his wife of like 30 years. This is when they were just dating. They had just started, getting serious in their relationship. And she was hanging out and she was taking pictures because she was a photographer. And then her daughter from a previous relationship is there running around playing the drums with Ringo. And it just seemed like such a nice, just a very nice, very warm, very decent people all trying to create this TV special under the gun. And, there were pressures about time and all that stuff. And then you had Maureen Starkey, who was Ringo's wife. She showed up a couple of times, but, she didn't hang out. She always came in with shopping bags. So it's like she was just out shopping and decided to pop in and see the boys. Whereas Yoko, remember, always there. And then you had Patty Harrison. This is a fascinating woman. Every time I look at Patty Boyd Harrison, I think, really? Because Patty Boyd Harrison was considered, I guess, the finest looking woman in all of England. That's why I look at her and I go, really? Yeah. Okay. Pretty lady. Sure, pretty. I would bet that I have friends who are married to women I think are prettier. I really don't see the attraction. Patty Boyd Harrison, she comes in once. George is playing, whatever. He's playing, they're recording something, and she walks in and she gives him a kiss, and then she like sort of drifts away. Now, for anybody who knows the story, Patty Boyd Harrison was cheating on George with George's best friend, Eric Clapton. In fact, she left George Harrison for Eric Clapton like a year or so after this whole thing went on. And that's a weird story in and of itself, how George was just like, so would you rather be with Eric? And she's like, well, I just, I really like him. Okay. And George just left. George was just like, all right, fine. I don't know if you know this, but I'm George Harrison and I'm a Beatle. And I really don't need to get completely strung out on one woman because I'm pretty sure that my dating card will fill up rather quickly. So go ahead. You want to be with Eric, you go be with Eric. But this woman, Patty Boyd Harrison, I believe there was a story I read once years ago. No woman in the history of rock and roll has had more songs specifically written about her that turned out to be like these iconic hits. So here I've got the list. Patty Boyd Harrison inspired George Harrison's song, I Need You. If I Need Someone, an early Beatles song. Something, which is, something in the way she looks. For You Blue, which is another big George Harrison song. So she's got George Harrison, I Need You, If I Needed Someone, Something, and For You Blue, which are George Harrison songs. And then she goes and she jumps to Eric Clapton and she twists him all inside out. And he writes Layla for her. Layla. Apparently that's her nickname. He writes Layla for her. He writes Bell Bottom Blues for her. And he writes Wonderful Tonight for her. Imagine being the woman who inspired Something by the Beatles, Layla, and Wonderful Tonight. I mean, those are like three of the most, and that's why I'm looking at her and I'm going, yeah, really? That's all of that song, all of that incredible musicianship, and all of that passion and love generated from her, huh? Huh. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. I mean, she's a pretty woman. Pretty woman. All right, there you go. So that's basically all I can tell you about. We spent a good 20 minutes there talking about the Beatles. Get Back. It's worth it. It is definitely worth it. So I had to get Disney Plus because I told you the Black Friday Hulu deal. It was an incredible deal. So like $4. I'm like, why not? My kid's been like, why don't you have Disney Plus? I need a Disney Plus account. It was like $3, whatever. So I'm like, okay. So I started, rooting around Disney Plus, seeing what is there for me to watch? What is there? What can I? Okay, so after I finish watching the Beatles, the 30 hours of raw studio footage of the Beatles trying to create what would end up being the Let It Be album. What else? Then what else? How am I going to justify having Disney Plus? I mean, I'm sure there's all these Disney Channel shows, but I don't need, I don't need that in my life. There's no reason for me to be. But they do have all the Marvel. They've got the rights to all the Marvel, and they've got the rights to all the Star Wars, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff there. So my 12-year-old son is like, super into Marvel, super Mr. Marvel. He's like, he loves everything Marvel. And he challenged me because apparently the Marvel movies, when they come out, you know how like I think the first one was what? Iron Man, I guess maybe was the first one, and then Captain America, and then whatever. The order that they were released is not the order that they exist within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're all out of order. Like Captain Marvel, which just came out 2 years ago, takes place in the 90s. So it takes place long before Tony Stark and Iron Man and Thor and the issues or the events of the Avengers films and all that. So I was challenged to watch all the Marvel films in the order of which you are supposed to watch them. The Marvel films in order, in a timeline from, the very first one that takes place in whatever year to whatever decade or year this movie takes place. Watch that, then watch this one. So I had to figure out the order, and I was able to come up with this here. So this is the order that I watched 3 of them. I am 3 deep into because I couldn't just do nothing but the Beatles all weekend. I had to take breaks and be like, okay, so maybe I'll watch this instead. Maybe I'll take a 12-hour break, and then I'll do another 3-hour chunk of Beatles. And it was also helpful that the Cowboys didn't play today and the Bears didn't play today. So I mean, I had all afternoon, and I woke up early this morning and I started watching Beatles at like 9:30 in the morning, and then by 2:00 in the afternoon, I'm watching the first Marvel movie. Or actually, no, I watched the first Marvel movie yesterday. That was yesterday. So the first one that I started off with was Captain America. Okay, Captain America, the first Avenger. That's the one. That's the order. I researched the order. I found out exactly how you're supposed to watch all of the Marvel movies so that you are in a correct timeline of events. Because certain movies make references to other movies and stuff. And okay, so the first one was Captain America, the first Avenger. And that's set in 1942, 1943. It's World War II. That movie sucked. Oh my God, you guys. Oh, I didn't think I was going to get through it. It sucked. I hated Captain America, the first Avenger. It was so boring. It's like, ugh, Nazis? Really? Although it was interesting how they did at the very end bring him into the future because he crashed his plane and was frozen in ice, and then they discovered him in the ice, thawed him out, and then that's how the Avengers started. But anyway, yeah, so that takes place in like 1942, 1943, and oh, did I hate Captain America. God, I'm not looking forward to any of the other Captain America movies which are lurking in my near future, because I will watch all of these movies. I will. Probably by Valentine's Day, I will be able to say, I have seen all the Marvel movies in order. So the second one that you're supposed to watch, Captain America, First Avenger, 1942 to 1943. The second one is Captain Marvel. You know, the Brie Larson, she's Captain Marvel from outer space. That's set in the mid-90s. Loved Captain Marvel. Loved it. Captain America, Captain Marvel was so fun. That was fun. That movie was interesting. Brie Larson is great. And by the way, it's a bold statement, but I've seen enough of the Avengers and I know what all their bells and whistles are. I know what tricks they do. I know all this stuff. Captain Marvel fuck them all up. She will. Captain Marvel is like, she seems to be the one with the most power. Maybe Thor, because Thor is a god. And a god is going to have more powers than, say, oh, I don't know, Hawkeye? A guy who shoots bows and arrows, right? But Captain Marvel was so good. I thought, if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, I hadn't seen it. I just figured that was one of those disposable ones. I'm like, I'm not really interested in that. Loved Captain Marvel. Might be my favorite. And then I watched the first Iron Man. So good. So good. The first Iron Man is so good. What a fun movie. How great is Robert Downey Jr.? Nobody else can ever play Tony Stark. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. embodies that character. So those are the three that I got through. I got through Captain America. Awful. Oh, and by the way, Captain Marvel, Captain America's movie is titled Captain America, the First Avenger. And then in the Captain Marvel movie, we learn that that's bullshit. Captain America wasn't the first Avenger. Captain Marvel is the first Avenger. In fact, Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury names the Avenger Project after Captain Marvel. He named her name when she was a human, when she was on Earth and a fighter pilot in the Air Force. Her name was Captain Carol Avenger Danvers. That was her name. Her nickname, you know, like Maverick and Goose, you know, and Top Gun. Her nickname was Avenger. And at the end of Captain Marvel, when Nick Fury is like, all right, we're going to need to put together a group of people that have powers like her, because if she's out there and we didn't know it, there's got to be others. We need to find some more of these people. We need to get them all together and we need to make them fight for us and help good and justice and blah, 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 blah. And he's on a little word processor and he's writing it out. And it was called like superhero project or something. And then he looks at a picture of Carol Danvers in her flight suit, and he notices that right above her airplane, it says Captain Carol Avenger Danvers, and he changes it. He goes backspace, back, and he writes Avenger Project. So screw you, Captain America. You can be called the first Avenger all you want, but I think we all know that Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, she's in fact the real first Avenger, because there wouldn't even be a team of Avengers if it weren't for her and her nickname. So the rest of these that I got to run through, I'll just tell them really quick. So here's the order that you're supposed to watch them in. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? I'm going to run through them. We're going to go through these really quick. And by the way, if you don't like Marvel movies, you are shit out of luck. And if you don't like the Beatles, I apologize for this show. But this is what happens when it's just me sitting in a chair in the guest house all by myself, ranting and just trying to make hay for a couple of hours. So here's the order. Captain America, the First Avenger, 1942-1943. 2. Captain Marvel, 1995. 3. Iron Man, 2010. 4. Iron Man 2, 2011. 5. The Incredible Hulk, 2011. 6. Thor, 2011. 7. The Avengers. 8. Iron Man 3, 2012. By the way, these dates are the dates that they're set, not the dates they were made. Although in many cases is also the date that they were made. 8. Iron Man 3, 2012. 9. Thor: The Dark World, 2013. 10. Captain America: The Winter Soldier, 2014. 11. Guardians of the Galaxy. 12. Guardians of the Galaxy. Both of those, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Both of those are 2014. 13. Avengers: Age of Ultron. That was 2015. 14. Ant-Man, 2015. 15. Captain America: Civil War, 2016. 16. Spider-Man: Homecoming. That was set in 2016. 17. Doctor Strange. Sleeper. Doctor Strange is great. Doctor Strange is great. One of my 3 favorites. Well, we'll see when we get through them. But I love Benedict Hoinkerbonk, whatever his name is. What's his name? What's that guy's name who plays Doctor Strange? Benedict Cumberbatch, is that right? Or is it Cumberbunch? I don't know. Whatever. He's awesome as Doctor Strange. That's set in 2016 and 2017, and that is the 17th movie in the Marvel timeline that you have to see. 18, Black Widow. That was set in 2017, even though it came out last year. So it came out in 2020, but it was set in 2017, Black Widow. Number 19, Black Panther, set in 2017. 20, Thor Ragnarok. Oh, that's a good one too. Thor Ragnarok is a great one. Thor Ragnarok set in 2017. And then 21 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, set in 2017. 22 is Avengers Infinity War, 2017. And then Avengers Endgame, that's set between 2018 and 2023. And then they dump you into the TV series. Loki, WandaVision, then Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then back to a movie, Spider-Man Far From Home, which is set in 2024, and then Eternals, which I guess is set in 2024, but it's out right now. So there you go. That I'm going to try. I'm going to try, and I'm going to try and get through all of that. And I'm telling you, my date to be done with the entire Marvel timeline is going to be February 14th. So I'm going to try and watch all of those things between now and Valentine's Day. And hopefully by then, I'll be able to see the Eternals, which is the second, the last one. So the Eternals will probably be available on, digital on demand or something like that by then. Probably be up on Disney Plus by that point. At least that's what I'm hoping. All right, let me jump into the chat room here and see what y'all have going on. And you can be... Boy, everybody's really upset about the icon. I have to say, I'm glad to hear that you're upset about it, because I have been bugged by it now for quite some time. And I just didn't think it was enough to really make any mention of. And I could get past it, because I have the ability to sort of compartmentalize these things and not let them fester and ruin me. But apparently some of you can't do that. So I'd never mentioned it to Ed, but I will. I will mention it to Ed, and we'll see if we can get the icon fixed. I'm sorry. I'm trying to catch up. I'm reading a lot of things that people mentioned about some of the stuff that I've gone over in the last 20 minutes or so. And it just, you're funny is what I'm trying to say. Some of you people are funny. You have funny comments. Jeff Glenn wants me to post that chronology on your Facebook page. Yeah, I mean, I gotta go to Facebook, which, maybe I don't go to Facebook much. How about you people come join me over on Twitter? How come none of my chat room friends are with me on Twitter? I mean, there's a couple of you who get into my Twitter jams, but I'll tell you, I'm a very active guy on Twitter. I don't know what it is about Facebook. I got off of Facebook a couple of years ago, and I can't get back to it. And you know what I like about Twitter? As you can tell from sitting here for 2 hours and just talking to myself nonstop, I tend to be a little long-winded, and Facebook indulges that. My Facebook posts were like epic screeds, whereas Twitter forces me to be a little bit more economical with my thoughts, where I've only got so many characters to work with. So I have to, and Twitter, for someone like myself who writes a lot, just, whether it's just journaling or writing thoughts or writing stories and all that kind of stuff, Twitter has really, really helped me. It's the practice of tweeting a big grand thought and then being like 200 characters over, and you have to go back and you have to economize your words. something that I really appreciated with Twitter that I was never challenged to do with Facebook. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I like Twitter so much. It's my adversary. How dare you limit my grand thoughts to 240 characters? Why, I'll show you. So the article that I was reading this morning, I told you about this, about all the things that are disappearing. This was from, where's this from? The LA Times. Okay. So this is this was a story and a list of things that millennials who are now. Hey, do you remember when we used to talk about these damn millennials? You wait till they get into the working world. The whole world's going to take a big shit on them, and they're going to find there ain't no participation trophies, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the millennials have been in the working world for the last 20 years at this point. And you know what? They're in charge of it now. They're in their 40s and in their 30s. And guess what? The world didn't take a big shit on them the way we all seem to have claimed that it would. And they have actually changed the surroundings to suit their needs, wants, and desires. So more power to them. You know, we here in Gen X, we just kind of floated along, took a whole bunch of shit from baby boomers, and then talked crap on the millennials. And guess what happened? They jumped us. They moved us, our little insignificant generation. They moved us off to the side, and now they are in complete control of everything. And there are brands, and there are things and experiences and parts of American and global life in general that used to just be mainstays that are no longer happening. And so this article was about those things that are completely going away. Like, for instance, one of the great tragic occurrences of the millennials is that they don't eat breakfast cereal. Breakfast cereals are like Kellogg's, General Mills, whatever. They have seen their bottom lines just be gutted because I don't know what are they eating? Avocado toast instead? I don't know, but breakfast cereals, that was one. I pillaged a little list here. Marriage is down like 60% over the last 20 years. People are not getting married, not in the way that the previous generations did. Obviously, for a lot of reasons, the pandemic and, ease of access in home, but theaters, movie theaters, the generation that is calling all of the shots these days, they don't go to movie theaters. Not the way we did. My God, I would go to 3 movies a week when I had nothing but disposable income when I was a kid. What do you want to do? Let's go to another movie. We saw everything. We didn't even care about the movie. We just wanted to be in a theater. And that's, we're in a theater buying overpriced popcorn, sitting here, maybe paying attention, maybe not paying it. It's not a thing anymore. They don't go to theaters. They get movies delivered directly to their pad, and they watch, things that we'd wait in line for. They watch while they're taking a dump in the toilet. I mean, on some iPad or something. Theaters, driving. This was here. Did I see if I can pull up this story? Because there was something really interesting that I didn't. Okay, driving. When I was a kid, you couldn't wait to turn 16 to get your driver's license. Nothing anymore. They don't really, they don't, it's not like it was. It's down. People are not, driver's ed schools are just gone. It's like nobody, there used to be a dozen of them in every, every phone book listing. You got a dozen. Now there's none. Kids are waiting to get their driver's license. And then just in general, people are driving less and less and less. And they say that this is because of, well, again, ease of access. You've got all these ride shares, you've got Uber, you've got, all of these things. People are not driving the way they once did. Oh, here's another thing. When was the last time you used a bar of soap? Bars of soap. That was like the only way you would clean yourself when I was a kid. You'd get a bar of soap and you'd get it all the way down to a sliver. It'd be just like this little sliver. Oh, I think I got enough for one shower. I think I can use that. That's just a little sliver. Bars of soap are not a thing anymore. Body wash. Everybody uses you use body wash. You don't use a bar of soap. You might think you don't. Think about it. When was the last time that you used a bar of soap? I want to go buy a bar of soap now. I bet the Dollar Tree has bars of soap. I bet they're $1. How would I even know how to? Oh, that would be hysterical. I'm going to give my 12-year-old son a bar of soap. See if he knows what to do with it. See if he knows how it works. Hey, kid. All right, give me that shampoo and give me the body wash. Here, this is what you're going to use. You won't know what to do with it. Gym memberships. Gym memberships are down. People used to go to the gym. They used to take aerobics classes. They used to do all of these things. People do not go to gym membership. They don't have gym memberships anymore. There's new stuff like in-home gyms and the Peloton stuff where you can create a whole gym in your living room simply by tapping into something. Cross-training gyms, which are not the same thing as like the traditional health club or whatever it was that you used to go to. Those are things that millennials are no longer using. Here's a weird one: fabric softener. This one apparently millennials don't use fabric softener. Fabric softener has taken a huge hit. People just aren't buying it anymore. Here's one. I get this one. Cruises. Nobody's going on cruises anymore. Now, cruises got a whole bunch of bad pub because of the pandemic and people getting sick and all that. But cruises among the millennials are seen as something your grandparents do, and to them it just seems awful. And I agree with them. Cruises seem, from the time I was a little kid watching Love Boat, I just always thought, you mean it's a hotel but you can't get off it? You mean you're just constantly there? There's nowhere to. Cruises, I will never go on a cruise unless it's free. Like what if I end up working in media again and they're like, hey, you ought to take a bunch of listeners on a cruise? I mean, I'll go if it's free, but I'll go. You guys remember that. You guys remember this night when I sat here and I told you flat out, the cruises seem like they'd suck. I have no interest. Let's see, what else? What else do we have here? So I'm scanning through the stories because these individual issues are highlighted within the story. Oh, beer. Dude, beer is down. Beer sales are like womp womp. Millennials are not drinking beer the way, everybody else did. Because of pot. That's exactly what millennials are choosing pot over beer. And I can't blame them. I honestly can't blame them. If there wasn't all this voodoo surrounding pot and all this misinformation and all this bad stuff, and someone had laid out all the facts and they said, okay, here, drink a whole bunch of beer, and then I want you to smoke a whole bunch of pot, and then tell me which one you like better. I mean, it's not even a contest. One gives you a hangover. One makes you want to fight your shadow. One makes you argumentative and violent. One, just gives you a headache and stinky and gives you the farts and the shits and all of that stuff. And the other one makes you want to sit on a couch and watch that dude in the corner play guitar. No hangovers, no nothing. So millennials, they're saying that beer as a thing, as a driving force of our culture is not going away, but it is real, because there's nothing better than, getting high and drinking a beer. I mean, they kind of go together. It's a nice thing that goes together. But as far as like, let's get fucked up, people aren't doing that anymore. There are better ways that they're finding. There are safer ways. There are less intrusive on the body ways. I mean, my God, imagine never having to have a hangover. I mean, alcohol just destroys your insides. It's formaldehyde. It dries you up. That's what cottonmouth is. It dries everything up inside. It's alcohol. Did you ever rub alcohol on the outside of your skin? And you see, that's what's happening to your inside. That's why you have cottonmouth when you drink. That's why I'm so thirsty. Give me a Gatorade. Weed doesn't do that. Weed doesn't do any of that. You wake up the next morning after smoking a whole lot of weed, and maybe you have to really concentrate to remember how to tie your shoes. But once that passes, you are totally normal again. You are completely fine. So millennials have sort of embraced that truth. Cable TV. That's another one. It's another one that I see here. I don't know. I don't think I know anyone under 50 that has cable TV. Do you? You know anyone under 50 years old that has cable TV still? And you know, the cable TV companies, they know it. The cable TV, all they're doing is raising their rates on everything. And you know why? Because they know that the people who are current subscribers, they've got them till death, because these current subscribers know that there are better, cheaper, and more modern options available to them, but they're old heads. You know, they're like me. They don't want to learn how to stream. I don't know. I love my cable. I understand the remote control. I get the DVR. I don't want to learn this. What do you mean there's no box? What are apps? I don't know how to use an app on my TV. So the cable companies know that they've got a hostage situation with the current. They're not getting any new customers. They know they ain't getting any new cut. There ain't no 18-year-olds getting, subscribing to cable in their new college dorm room. That is never going to happen. But they're just going to string their grandparents along forever. They're going to raise their rates incrementally. They're going to treat them like shit. They're going to give them even less service because they're firing everybody. And, cable companies are getting smaller. So if you thought customer service was bad with cable 10 years ago, boy, oh boy, what it is today, what it's going to be tomorrow, what it's going to be a year from now. And they know, because your grandma's not going to cancel her cable. She's not. They've got her till death. Cable companies are in a death march, and they are just going to ride this last generation into the ground and then get out. It's a fact. So cable TV is a thing. Dining in restaurants is also down. And this is because of, curbside pickups and, Grubhub and Uber Eats and, all of these newfangled things where we used to have to get dressed up. We used to have to, do all of these things. Like, oh, you want to go out to dinner tonight? People don't do it anymore. They're like, hey, let's just get that, that Italian dish that you love from that fancy Italian restaurant. Well, someone will actually bring it right to your door. Every place has carryout now. It's not just pizza or Chinese the way it was for the past 100 years. Everybody now, you want Outback Steakhouse? You don't have to go to Outback Steakhouse. You just go on Grubhub, and Grubhub will bring you some Outback Steakhouse. They'll bring it right to your door. You don't have to put your makeup on. You don't have to go out. So dining out in restaurants is really taking a hit through millennials. They're just not doing it anymore. Diamonds is another one. Apparently, people, when they are getting married, which many people aren't getting married, they're not doing diamonds anymore. Apparently, there is a very high level of skepticism about how diamonds are mined. And, these socially conscious individuals are not digging on diamonds. So if you got a diamond, sit on it, because boy, oh boy, they're going to go way up in value, because they will. Oh, it'll be back. Oh, the whole diamond rush will be back. So sit on your diamonds. Don't get rid of them now. Just keep them. Here's one that I thought was interesting. Lottery sales. Millennials do not play the lottery. They don't. And you want to know who plays the lottery? Old people and minorities. That's who plays the anytime you go into a convenience store, look over at the lotto line. Okay, look and see who's playing. It's your grandma, and it's like a Hispanic cleaning lady. Those are the people, the only people. You never see like a millennial girl, who's just out for a jog, stopping in at the store to get her lottery. They're not buying. They don't buy lottery tickets. They just don't. Oh, here's one that I liked. This is a whole thing here, but here I'll make it napkins, just to make it short. Napkins are out. People don't use napkins anymore. You used to go to the store and you would buy a whole big thing of napkins. And, you would have when you'd have your dinner, you'd pull out the paper napkins and you'd get in napkins. People don't use napkins anymore. Everybody just uses paper towels, like I've been doing for 20 years. I never understood the redundancy of napkins. Paper towels are better, but there you have it. So napkins, people don't, I guess for like maybe fancy occasions or something like that, you use napkins. But day in and day out, the way people once did, they do not use napkins anymore. Paper towels are being used for everything. McDonald's. McDonald's is in the toilet. They're just not going to McDonald's anymore. Department stores are in the toilet. People are not going to department stores anymore. Did you see that the malls were down 36% on Black Friday? 36%. So it was the smallest mall day in Black Friday history since they started, counting people. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say? It was like real. It was down 36%. Dress shoes. Dress shoes for men are not a thing anymore. Men who wear suits are not wearing dress shoes anymore. They don't have I still have a pair of old-timey black and old-timey brown dress shoes in my closet with laces, and they're very bland. They're just very generic. They are dress shoes. Men do not wear dress shoes anymore. They wear gym shoes. Gym shoes with suits, gym shoes with, I'm not talking about, your dirty Jordans that you run around when you're raking leaves. I mean, you go out and you buy a specific pair of gym shoes to wear with suits, to wear with whatever. But dress shoes are not a thing anymore. It's about, and you can get fancy leather gym shoes. You can get Nikes that look like dress shoes, but they're, rubber soles, So that's a thing. At suits in general. Suits for men in general are on the way. The 3-piece suit with the tie and the shirt and the jacket. Men are wearing jackets, and they're wearing jackets with jeans. They're wearing jackets with different kinds of pants, but not necessarily matching suit pants to their jacket. They're wearing t-shirts, and they're almost never wearing ties. So dress shoes, suits, the entire way that men dress. That's an interesting thing too that I noticed about when I was watching the Beatles Get Back. We talked about that earlier in today's show. The way people dressed back then in 1969, I mean, they looked very cool. They looked very fabulous. They were the Beatles, for crying out loud. They were fashion icons, so they looked good. But what struck me was there were no labels or branding anywhere. Nowhere. Nobody was wearing a t-shirt that said Coca-Cola on it. Nobody was wearing something that said Nike, or, nobody was wearing anything with an Adidas, thing. It was such an odd thing. I'm like, man, I go look at these guys, all look so good. And not one label, not one piece. That all happened in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, maybe to some degree in the 70s. But man, absolutely everything that everyone wore was totally clean. No branding. No, this company made this shirt. None of that. I thought that was interesting. Doorbells. This is a funny one. Doorbells are not a thing anymore. There are houses being built and they're not even having doorbells put on. Maybe a knocker. But doorbells, bing bong, the dog goes nuts, you hear his feet on the tile, all of that. Doorbells are not a thing anymore. You know why? Because nobody pops in. Everybody texts. As you're pulling up to the house, I'm pulling up, I'm here. And then the person, will open the door. But nobody's using doorbells anymore. Again, this is all a list of things that I read today from millennials, things that millennials are killing off. Let's see. Landlines. Yeah, we'll just do the last two here. Landlines. Nobody has landlines anymore. Again, except for your grandma. Your grandma might have landlines, but that's probably it. And save this one for last, because this one is sad. This one I don't like. This one, whatever, folks. You do what you got to do, but milk. Milk is not a thing anymore. People do not drink milk anymore. Millennials are not drinking milk. And that is really awful. That kills me. Because, for those of you who know, my grandfather was a milkman. And we were a dairy family. We had milk delivery and all that kind of stuff. And I love milk. Milk is not something that anyone is drinking. Almond milk, soy milk, or whatever. I don't know. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Let's run through. Well, let me see what some of you guys. No, Pugs cloth napkins are now starting to replace paper. Everything cloth over paper, paper over plastic. Okay, Emily, but how about we don't say no, Pugs? How about we say, I've heard, instead of the confrontational, no, Pugs? I'm just kidding, Emily. I'm just look. Hey, your beef is with the Los Angeles Times. Your beef ain't with me, gal. Well, I'm whatever. Leslie says we kept our landline because it was tied to the alarm system. Okay. Alarms are now stopping the landlines for internet. Yeah, Tom Beller points out that the Ring doorbells are. Everybody's got Ring doorbells. Everybody's, but I like. I'm trying to think of like whose house do I go? I go over to my son's mom's house all the time to pick up my son. And I've never once rang their doorbell. I don't even know if they have a doorbell. I don't even know what it sounds like because as I pull onto their street, I text, I'm here. And then I pull up, I open the door. And as I'm walking up the walkway, they will come to the door and open it up and outbounds my kid. And it's, okay, do we have anything needs to be exchanged? Nope. Okay, we're all good. Have a good weekend. Okay, you too. We'll see you on Monday. I don't ring a doorbell. I don't know. Time for a little John Hinckley. What do you want from me? 20 minutes? I'm leaving 20 minutes on the table. You're going to bust my balls over 20 minutes? You know how hard this was to do? Just me sitting here, just spouting garbage off the top of my head? For the most part. That'd be impressive, though, if it was all off the top of my head, wouldn't it? A good deal of it is right here on the computer in front of me. I am on a never-ending quest. Boom, 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 boom. That's what, right? That's how you would, that's where the band would come in. Do you promise to join me tomorrow at noon for high noon? Don't promise. I've heard it before. We'll be on tomorrow at noon. We'll do current events. We'll do everything that's trending. I'll give you hot takes on whatever you need. But don't make a promise if you're not going to show up at noon because I know you. Some of you might show up, though. Another day. The best is yet to come. Boom, 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 boom. I want to get a hold of John Hinckley and I want to pitch him on me producing. I think that we could, this could be so much bigger. This song could be there is so much room. First of all, the arrangement's beautiful. The lyrics are beautiful. The man is, he started out as a joke, but quite frankly, I think he's got something. And I think that, there's a record buying public out there. Who am I kidding? There ain't no record buying public out there, but there are people out there who might appreciate it. You just get a full band behind him. I have got an old guitar. That is all I need. Okay, here it comes. I don't need no 401. Ready? I don't have the greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Boom, boom, boom. It's gonna sound better. You know it's gonna sound better. Don't look at me like that. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I'm gonna go watch Iron Man 2. Oh no, I'm not. Succession. Are you guys watching the Dexter reboot? Because I think there's like 5 episodes now, and I haven't watched any of them. I loved Dexter. Dexter was awesome, but is the reboot any good? Things I think about. Things are going good. I always had to be on guard. That is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a I am on a never-ending quest. All right, see you tomorrow at noon. Bye, everybody.